So we are both a national organization as well as having a local mission. So we work with chapters all over the country, but we also work with entrepreneurs right here, right in our community. So we work towards this mission by creating a consistent educational experience for each of our 1MC presenters and also highlighting the uniqueness of the value proposition that's brought in each community. But we also want to focus on our key pillars. Our key pillars we always go back to. These are presentations. We want to present and learn about businesses, but they're not pitches. They're not pitches to find customers. We really prioritize authentic connection, not just simply networking. We are run for the community of Greater Fairfax, but also for the community of entrepreneurs, and we are run by the community. And our goal is to be radically and intentionally inclusive. So we're glad you're here. So welcome to all visitors. If you have never joined 1 Million Cups, we would love to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself. We'd love to get to know you a little bit better and have you become more involved with our 1MC chapter. So if you are new, please raise your hand and would love to do an introduction. When you're called on, please share your name, your company, your organizational name, and how you heard about us. I see Danielle.
I was actually new last week, but I think I missed the slide. So I'll call myself out this week. My name is Danielle Haggerty. My company name is Better Habits LLC. I give group cohort training for people who want to master emotional intelligence. And how I heard about it is John Foster. I ran into him at a networking event, and he told me how awesome this group is. And I really enjoyed it last week, so I'm back again.
Okay, fantastic. We're so happy to have you, Danielle. And I also see JT as well. You're on mute, JT. There we go.
Hi, JT Lee. That one painter. We cover the territories that I own is Manassas, Woodbridge, and Perkins Springfield. But that's the territories that I can market. But when it comes to referrals, I can work anywhere in Northern Virginia. I think I was here like several months ago. I do remember some of the faces, but I kind of fell off, and then I'm going back on again. So I just wanted to say hi. We do painting, very simple, residential, commercial, interior, exterior. We do everything. So if you need painting need, please, give me a holler.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very simple, but very important. Thank you so much, JT. And then I have a friend that I introduced. That's why we have the confusing name. This is my friend, Brad Hummel. So he is looking at potentially opening his own thing in writing, but I'll let him tell you more about it. So, Brad.
Yeah, my name is Brad Hummel. I'm a freelancer, sole proprietor, content writer, content marketer, have history in research and historical research as well. Obviously, heard about this from Scott. I've been friends with Scott for, goodness, probably about 14 years now. So it's been 13, 14 years. We went to college together. And yeah, we've been editing each other's stuff for a long time. So yeah, that's how I got here today.
All right. Welcome, Brad. And then I have Dev. Dev, welcome.
Hi, good morning. Dev Roy. I am new, first time today. Even though from my common friends and colleagues and peers recommended me to join this platform a lot of time, but somehow never managed to. But today I'm here. My company name is intraintel.ai. We are a startup. We are building a product. And also, I would love to demo our product in a few of the coming sessions. We already registered ourselves. This product solves a specific business case where all of us, we store our own content, our data. Especially Brad, you write so many content. But the problem is, since cloud happened, we store a lot of data in the last 10 years. But the problem is we store in so many different locations, sometimes OneDrive, Google Drive, iCloud, and Winbox. And when time comes, we need something, we could not find it. So my product is solving that business problem, where we give you a platform where you connect all your data sources, connect all your content. Basically, we don't touch your data. We
Hey,
just provide.
Dev,
Yes,
you're going to be presenting in a couple of weeks, right? 2 or 3 weeks?
yes.
Let's save the good stuff
Yeah.
for the
Sounds good.
presentation.
But
That's
thank-
great. No. I just want to move us along.
Yeah,
Brian Hammock.
We appreciate you, Dev.
Yeah, good stuff. Brian Hammock, did you have your hand up or did I misread that? Did you? Oh, you're on mute,
You're
brother.
on mute, Brian.
All right, sorry about that. I'm discombobulated this morning. So my name is Brian Hammock. I'm new. I've been going to a lot of Chamber of Commerce meetings and that sort of thing to network. I'm from a company called Signorama. We're a company in Tyson's Corner that does signs, basically everything from the smallest wayfinding signs to the largest outdoor constructions. We do design, we do installation, and I've been trying to network to try to find business owners, but also construction company managers and property managers and that sort of thing. So that's it.
Okay. Well, welcome, Brian. We are thrilled to have you.
Thank you.
All right, and please check in. This is something that is really helpful for our team of volunteers. When you check in, it helps us to understand that we are providing value to the community and know everyone who's here. So if you get a chance, just pull out your phone, scan the QR code, and it will allow us to know who's been here. All right. And this is the 1MC Fairfax team. So this does not happen by accident. This takes a lot of planning, and we appreciate many hands makes this light work. So if you're interested in either being a part of the organizing team that put this on or a part of our brand ambassadors, we would love to have you on board with us. And now I'm going to transition. So each month we have a space sponsor and our coffee sponsor, and I will hand that off for talking about the Mason Enterprise Center, which is where we host our space. The first week of every month, every Wednesday, we meet in person in Fairfax. So who would like to introduce our location sponsor?
I am happy to take that one, Scott. Thank you. The Mason Enterprise Center is an incubator. They've been around for almost 25 years. They have over 100 businesses that are either virtual members or in office. What's really unique about MEC, it is open to any business owner. You don't have to have gone to George Mason there, but you also have dedicated mentors. So if you're looking to grow and scale your business, that's a great place to be, especially if you're looking in the technology or the GovCon space. I highly recommend reaching out to Eddie Hill. You can see the email there, and I've also put the website in chat. But again, join us in person the first Wednesday of every month. The only exception to that will be January. We'll be there on the 8th, where we'll hear from Dev. So please make sure to come join us on the 8th. You can check out their training space, and we can give you, an overview of their space and their office as well. And
Thank you so much, Jim.
absolutely, Scott. I'm going to give it over to Steve to talk about Red Sky.
Good morning. Red Sky Money is a nonprofit organization dedicated to addressing the critical challenge of low financial literacy among individuals early in their careers. We empower people with tools, knowledge, and confidence to navigate financial decisions through personalized professional coaching. By fostering financial capability at the start of their professional journey, we help them build a strong foundation for lifelong stability and success. If you know of anyone who would benefit from our services or who may be interested in supporting our mission, please have them reach out to us at redskymoney.org. Thank you.
So if you or anyone you know is interested, check out Red Sky. I want to talk a little bit about how our meeting works. So it's really important that we are participating, but the goal of that, we want to make sure that we are doing things like raising our hands, making sure that we are unmuting, right? It makes things go smoothly in terms of how our meetings work. But we have a presenter every week who talks through their business challenge, and we offer feedback. So they will speak, they will give their presentation, and then be thinking of questions, insights, connections that you can use to help them. And unmute yourself when you're called upon, and then give your question. We want to make sure they're questions, though, not statements. We want to make sure that we leave plenty of time for us to get to all of the questions and comments and insights. And our presenter today, so we have Margot. So she's going to be presenting, and I'll hand it off to our presenter.
Thank you, Scott. Good morning, all. Appreciate all of our sponsors and learning more about you. Am I moving the slides, or are you?
We are.
Oh, okay, well then feel free. My name is Margot Halstead. I am the owner of Orahill. Orahill has been around for over 25 years in different capacities, on and off, sort of open and closed, depending on what's going on in life as life happens. Today, I'm asking you to consider what opportunities am I missing. Before I give you sort of the context, this is sort of how I'm asking you to listen. What are the opportunities that I'm missing? I'm too close to my work, and so it may be super obvious to you. Love to hear it. As my parents have told me, I kind of miss the obvious sometimes. So that's kind of how I'm asking that, is what opportunities am I missing? What connections do you make, obviously, and specifically from being in 1MillionCups before? I never thought about this before, but what companies would benefit from partnering with me? I've been solo for a while, and that concept just never entered my brain. It was more. So that was a fascinating question I added because of my exposure with you. Just wanted you to know that as a volunteer organization, that was a huge aha. So let me tell you about me. I have an unusual or not common combination of an MBA, a PMP, and an MCC. An MCC is a Master Certified Coach, if you are not familiar. That is someone who's been coaching. Usually it takes about 10 years to get it, and over 2,500 hours of coaching at the executive level. So that combination is pretty much a trifecta, and something I lean on. On the content that I am specializing in is interpersonal communications. I've been geeking out and studying interpersonal communications since college and even high school. So that's the filter that I look through life. Before I tell you what I do, that's sort of how I'm looking at things. And then all the other letters after my name start joining the conversation. This is my third career. I started in law firms out of college. There's not exactly a career path for people who specialize in interpersonal communications compared to business or mass communications. That makes sense. Off you go into a business and help them, or mass communications off to TV. But for interpersonal communications, hey, I can talk to people really well. There's really no career for that. So it's just been behind the scenes. So it started out in law firms, managing law firms, realized in the moment that I'm really good at making other people richer, and that's not giving back to the community. So off I went into government contracting and found my space with what I do. I am a circus enthusiast, and that has gotten me fired from one of my jobs, and that'll be a good story for after when we have coffee in person. But I do enjoy all the circuses and go maybe 8 or 9 times a year to all the different ones, which is fun. And I have 2 adult children, one who is fully disabled, who volunteers at the, 2 adult children, and a husband who is fully disabled. He works full time at the academies of Loudon, helping them with their construction class. And I tell you that only because it's pertinent to the story moving forward. So we can go on. So in October 2024, why am I here? I've been in business for 5 years, and 5 million cups is usually independently 5 years. And 5 million cups prides itself in its applications of we want you to be in 5 years or less or something like that. I am doing a complete shift in my business as of October 2024. So I feel like I'm opening the business all over again. I'm a leadership development specialist. That is my career. We can go back. I'm a leadership development professional, internal to very large government contractors. And then when the circus incident happened, I became independent 5 years ago, and then continued to be a professional subcontractor. And that has been my business model for 5 years. And that, because of a disabled husband, there was no time for ramp up. Money needed to be made immediately as the only income in the household. And that's why that's kind of important. And so being a professional subcontractor, I created relationships with 6 or 7 other companies who love winning the work, but don't want to do the work. Good for them. And that's been my income for the last 5 years. Well, we've recovered better. Children have grown up. And I wrote a book on my specialty of interpersonal communications. And it's tools-based. And so in October, when I launched it, that's now when I'm turning my business and I feel like a brand new business owner doing what Brian just said. I'm going to the Chamber of Commerce. I'm working with Loudoun Economic Development and all the rest of it to learn how to run a business. So I would be the prime. So that's why I'm coming to you and asked to come to you today. So this book is tools-based. It's not Margot's philosophy on business science, repeat and refresh and spit it out in a small book. This book is about 250 pages. It is all the skills that I've been giving people, then collecting since high school that I thought everybody had, and they don't. And so in my coaching, what makes it so successful is to give people the tools to mature their communications and their emotional intelligence after, if we all channel what got you here won't get you there. I kind of pick up where he left off. Here's all the things that you should notice that really are not good for you. Well, now what do I do about them is where I pick up from there. So now we can move forward. Thank you. So this Who Am I are the Grumples. And this is the illustrations from the book is all what you're seeing in terms of the visual for this. And they're the representation of your unknown communication or behavioral habit that is your it that you want to sort of know, first of all, and then how do I change it? And then we can move forward. So I think I already told this story, but the short version of the circus, somebody was offended at a very large government contractor that we all know locally and told me so, called me a racist. And then I quit that very same day and hung my shingle a few weeks later trying to do this. And that's when I created or was mentored through that business model of being a professional subcontractor. Knew nothing about that at the time. And then the next one. So what I have narrowed my life down to is no longer doing whatever the subcontractor is bidding on and winning. And yes, I can do that to pay the bills, to, okay, now I don't need to say yes to everything. I've got my book. I've created a class related to it. That workbook is, we just finished the beta class yesterday. The workbook is almost done. And now I'm working with instructional designers to make it, and then marketing to say, okay, how do I sell this? How do I sell it? So my niche that I'm narrowing down to, instead of being the yes, I'll do anything that you say person, is to facilitate leadership offsites for companies that have around 50 to 1,000 employees, where they don't have a robust internal leadership and talent development function, but they still want to put on a leadership offsite, a seminar, a something where it needs to be facilitated. That is the good portion of my work, but I also coach people with career damaging interpersonal skills. So the one-offs, I continue to do that. I'll say that again, people with career damaging interpersonal skills. We all know who those people are. They don't know that that's my specialty. The company reaches out and says, yeah, I know that's your specialty and we need you to work with so-and-so. And that impacts the toxic environment. So that leaves me with my questions for you. I have the revenue streams that I have considered. Where do I continue to get my revenue streams? How do I learn how to be sales? As a friend said, I stick to my 3 feet. What is within my control that I can have an impact on? And I build from there. One of the things I am considering is being a Vistage group speaker. That is an option that someone else suggested to me in a group, not really a group like this, but an independent person who said, you know, you really should, one of those. And then my SWOT analysis is what follows. We don't need to, just break it down. I'm not going to read all of this, but we can certainly leave it up. But I wanted you to know that I went through it, of what is my strengths, opportunities, weaknesses, and threats. And the biggest threat that I think I have is there's a lot of people in this space. There's a lot of facilitators, but there's a lot of companies that need leadership offsites too. So the balance is still there in terms of we are not saturated in that market. But I think the biggest opportunity I have is my specialty in interpersonal communications, that everybody wants communications training, and they would get a 2-for-1 if they had a facilitator who can also provide that very specific training that goes for the root cause and then provides actual skills that they can walk away with to improve right in the moment.
Perfect. Well, with that, thank you, Margot, for the presentation. That was really helpful. So applause. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, John.
What we'll do now is transition into really the mastermind portion of today. So attendees, please feel free to raise your hand digitally, or if you're not sure how to raise your hand on the Zoom bar, you can wave frantically. I'll keep an eye out for you. And again, as Scott mentioned earlier, this is a great time to ask any clarifying questions. For example, who participated in the pilot and what resonated? Or you can just go ahead and start with sharing ideas. So with that, let me kick it off with that question, actually. And then we'll go to Melinda next. So Margot, who did the pilot resonate with? I know you said you were just completing that. Do you feel like you have a good definition of your, not just your audience, because you spoke to that, but do you feel like you have a few good leads already? And who you have in mind to go speak to?
I missed that one word. Do I have a few good leads to
go speak to? Do you have specific companies in mind?
Okay. So I'm thinking there's 2 parts to that. How to get good at selling cold call wise, that I am a little nervous about, but clearly know my stuff, and rounding my own head with, I'm not selling them anything, I'm fulfilling a need that they have. So that was a huge shift. And the stress of running a beta finishing yesterday now is giving me the time to actually do this. So I'm going, my initial thought is to go to Glassdoor and look to for those companies that have 2 and 3 stars, not 4 and 5. As a way of creating a list for who might I reach out to.
Great idea. All right, let's start off with our Q&A. And again, just a reminder for people asking questions, and Margot, for you, let's keep our dialogue short so we can get as many questions and ideas as possible. Melinda, go ahead.
Margot, really enjoyed your presentation. When you were talking, I thought of some other industries that might be a perfect fit for you. One is the association industry, because they put on big meetings, 50 to thousands of people, they fit the whole profile, and that would be through ASAE and also SHRM, SHRM. They are the HR folks, and they would know who in their organizations might benefit or come in and do something. And then the last one I wrote down was sales. I know there's a sales association, but there's a person by the name of Fred Diamond locally who runs a really big sales group. I can put you in touch with all these folks, and I just wanted to shout out some other industries that you might want to look at. I'll put that in the text.
Thank you, Melinda.
All right, Mr. John Rudenberg.
Thank you. And Margot, awesome having you part of the group. And I just want to highlight that Margot's become part of the group, attending when she can before she ever presented, and hopefully will continue to be a great contributing member. Go back and clarify, if you will, your target audience of companies and the size, the upper end of the size range of number of employees before they have that development person in-house who would be, functioning in that role. Please.
So having the smallest company I worked for was 13,000 employees, and the largest was 120,000 employees. So my background after law firms was in that space. And so doing leadership conferences over and over and over again for small type groups, large type groups, everything, and developing and writing and presenting the whole things. So in the process then of being a professional government contractor afterwards, that's the sweet spot that I'm realizing within the government, that the agencies that are smaller are the ones that needed this assistance. And so now transitioning to myself, that's just my guess, is companies from 50 to 1,000 are right there. But when I worked for someone with 13,000 employees in that leadership and talent development group, we were always looking for outside vendors to come in and speak, because the internal team of two, they had shared all of their expertise within, and they needed new thinking. So I'm not adverse to doing that. I just don't know how to get in there.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Follow up, let other people question.
John Foster.
Great. Thank you. Margot, thank you so much for your presentation. And certainly what you're doing, I think, is hugely needed. And I guess the question is how to get to those people who need it. And I think one of the things, and of course, if I don't mention LinkedIn, I'll get castigated for it. So I'm mentioning LinkedIn. But certainly, from a B2B standpoint, and you've got, I'll say you got a nice start on your LinkedIn profile. I see you have a company profile for Orahill as well. But to me, from a leverage standpoint, the more you can do with that, and particularly the thing that caught my attention with you is that the idea of the 2-for-1 that your experience has. And to be able to highlight that, I think, could be helpful. So are you doing, just out of curiosity, from a social media standpoint, kind of where are you?
Yeah, no. So getting the book out, as anybody knows, was a big deal. And then finishing the workbook and running the beta to finalize the workbook, that's really the end date was yesterday. So now today, moving forward, it's time to do that with lots of opinions on what I can do. And of course, I can spend nothing to $26,000 a year.
So one thing which I'll just say real quickly is, with regards to the book, I would get that on LinkedIn and, push that.
Okay. So I did the launch in October, but clearly not enough. But I wanted to have the messaging ready too.
Okay.
But I'm with you, and thank you.
Great.
Any further specific suggestions? We're all for it.
Yep.
But next I'm going to go to Danielle, and then James Lawson, and then Reggie.
Yeah, Margot, I love what you're trying to do. I think this is very needed as someone who's worked in toxic environments. And so I hope that you're very successful. There are two things that, as you were talking, sounded like differentiators that might be good to put into that LinkedIn profile or social media, building on, things that have been said already, and that sales pitch that you're working on and getting comfortable with. One thing, and John mentioned it, I think already, is the 2-for-1, which I took to mean that not only do you do the training, which a lot of people do, and then walk away, but you also do the after coaching and like really getting the action part. And so highlighting that, because I think that that's coming from the corporate space, a differentiator that you could really apply,
Thank you.
especially since that takes the work off the manager to try to implement the training. So I think that would really resonate with a lot of folks. And then the other thing that you mentioned that sounds like a differentiator, it's also sensitive. So I think you'd have to think about how you frame it, right? Is that toxic person, right? You actually want to get them to volunteer without knowing it. And so that to me is also a differentiator. And as you mentioned, a crowded space, right? You're really targeting these folks. So thinking about like what words might resonate with them might also be a way to help. So have you thought about using kind of those approaches in your messaging?
So it's interesting, Danielle, that you say that, because I think I was, but I didn't have the words for it. As far as I got was, if I'm in there and creating the relationships, it's easier for the managers and the toxic person to say, you've already met Margot, you've seen her here, why don't we just have her work with you? And that's as far as I got, but I didn't think of it as a differentiator. I thought that as business as usual. So I really appreciate you pointing that out, and I'll spend some time wordsmithing that for both sides, because behind the scenes sees one thing, career damaging interpersonal skills, but in front they never know that that's my specialty. That's the language I got to work on. I'm hearing from you.
Thank you, Danielle. James Lawson, would you jump in?
Yeah, great stuff, Margot. I've got a couple of parts, but one is a clarifying question just for me. You've come out of organizations, big organizations, but I thought I heard at the beginning that you really wanted to go target maybe businesses that had maybe up to like 100 people. Did I get that wrong, or can you help me out with that? Just clarify that for me first.
So that's my logic of the day, to not try and go and get into the space that I was in, but stay within my local community and start there in terms of selling and how to do it, right? I already have the reputation there. They know how to get in touch with me.
Right, cool. Okay, that's fine. Second part was your book. What was your intention in writing the book? What is it for?
So it is a skills-based, tools-based book, and it is sort of like your own mentor that can walk you through the first 20-ish tools that I use to help people get from not having constructive conversations all the time to having constructive conversations all the time. I have about 180 some skills in my list of what I have to offer, and not everybody needs every one.
Right.
But there are 10 or 15 that are really common. And so I just kind of put those in place and wrote it in a scientific way of treating yourself as your own science experiment, and the workbook and the activities in it, you can kind of do it yourself.
Right.
So the purpose was just to share. There's too many people to help that need this.
So my guidance would be this, and I think Reggie will probably back me up on this, right? Because I think Reggie's going to be next.
Okay.
You need people to self-identify. Like you're not going to find them. You need them to actually self-identify based on a problem that you're solving for them.
Right.
So my suggestion would be is to get your book into as many platforms as humanly possible where you think your market is going to be playing. Use the language of, is this happening in your business? Right? Are you seeing this manifest itself in your business? Here's a free book that will work you through how to actually solve that problem on your own. They're never going to do it, ever, 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 ever. But they will go and grab the book. Grabbing the book gets you a contact that you can then follow up with.
Yeah.
But that self-identification is by far the single fastest way you're going to identify who has a problem that you can solve. But that language is the language is key. And to Danielle's point, don't be afraid of using like harsh language, right? Because people don't think like you. They don't. You're well educated, you're well trained, you've got a certain terminology, but people in a business have a different terminology and they think a certain way. So you've got to figure out their language and use their language when you're doing your marketing. So that's what I would be looking at is
Thank you.
just get it out there as much, use it as a lead magnet, get it out, tell it solves this problem, and then just see who goes, grabs it. Those are people that need your help.
Okay, thank you. As I'm finding the government working as an internal to the government itself, federal government, they are very averse to that language. And that's a reason I'm not continuing to promote working under the federal government on my own.
Yeah, small businesses up to 100 people, they've got a whole different way of thinking.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for
I'm
that.
going to jump in. We have 6 people in queue, Margot, so they're very interested in your topic.
Okay.
Reggie, go ahead.
Great job, Margot. Thank you for your presentation. One question is more so for you to think about, but it might be like a clarifying type of question. Is, do you want to work for people or for the companies and organizations? And I think that will determine a lot about how you position yourself. Are you the person that the toxic people or the people that are forced to work with the toxic people need to come to, or are you the person that the HR, the CEO should reach out to help the organization, or do you do both? I think it'd be helpful for you to kind of think about how you want to show up and who exactly you serve. Obviously, like, you serve the organization, but are you a person that is working with individuals too? So just think about that. And I think that will influence your messaging and positioning. And then as far as, where you can find some of these people, I don't know if you have a subscription to Washington Business Journal. It's a great resource. They publish lists of, top women-owned businesses, top businesses in certain industries, and largest businesses overall in this area. And so companies that are growing, that are merging, all those types of things, they write about it in this publication. So if you want to get established with those growing types of companies here, definitely recommend that. And then lastly, on your LinkedIn, you published this infographic, but it was like hand drawn from a workshop that you attended. But I think more stuff like that, like where you're taking these concepts and making them visual, making them very accessible for people so they can like see the problem, see the solution in a simple framework. I think stuff like that is really good. That will continue to further differentiate you and help you stand out. So great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Reggie. I appreciate all of those suggestions. And the Grumple that you see there are 80 visuals in the book, all in that style, each representing a skill. And I've been waiting until it was published so it would be protected, quite frankly, before I started putting those on LinkedIn. But that visuals are a huge part of it, Reggie. So I'm thank you for reminding me to really take advantage of those.
2 quick thoughts, Marco, before we go to Michael Butera. One would be to consider joining NABO, the National Association of Women Business Owners. They do have chapters all across the country, and they are looking for speakers and people to provide content. So I'm happy to talk with you about that. And with that, actually, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Michael. I'll come back with my other question in a little bit.
Thank you. Hey, Margot, what state are you in before I continue?
I'm in Virginia, right next to Dulles Airport.
Okay. Well, I work in the association community. Let me make a few suggestions to you. One, I already put in the chat, and you seem to be a reader and a thinker, so I would encourage you to read a book by David A. Fields. It's called The Guide to Winning Clients. It's a great piece which will give you a format that I think is worth your time and effort. Now, I work in the association community, and one of the things I've learned is people like to learn, but they don't like to be taught. So you have to have language that isn't about teaching, but is about learning. It's a strange kind of thing, but I think it's important to understand. Also, in Virginia is the Virginia Society of Association Executives. They have a very big profile in that state, and there are lots of associations in the Virginia, also in the DMV area in general. I would make an effort to, it's cheap, it doesn't cost very much money, and they're always looking for people to present, both in small regional meetings and statewide meetings, which is a real opportunity for you to get clients. Someone else has already mentioned ASAE. And if you come into Maryland, you want to work with the Maryland Nonprofits Association, which is another place to find clients. Again, these are opportunities for you to move forward. And someone mentioned LinkedIn. I want to do one quick follow-up on there. If you're not on LinkedIn, the association community is not going to deal with you. So do a good job there.
Yep.
And last but not least, social media in the association community is a difficult space because of the nature of the association, honest info. So to wrap up here real quickly, if you don't have a Blue Sky account, get
Mhm.
one. That's the new place for the association community.
Okay.
And there's an opportunity for you to link up with lots of other people.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael. John Rittenberg, and then Brad.
Thank you. So I want to go back, piggyback a little bit on Reggie and talk about that target audience and the decision maker who is feeling the pain. Because if you ask John Norris, he'll tell you, he's one of the guys with the hands up, that Rutenberg is toxic. And Rutenberg is happy as a pig in slop because the toxic person feels no pain. It's the boss, the business owner, the HR people, the development people. And so now, because I'm a math and numbers guy, let's just say the average sale is 10 grand because I can do it, and you need 10 of them in a year to have 100 grand. You can use whatever numbers you want.
Mhm.
To get those 10 assignments, you might have to target 200 companies and 50 to 500 people.
Mhm.
50% of those companies can be referred to you by folks you know in the greater metro area. So building that list of the 150 or 200 companies to get 10 of them, and it may be 12 to 18 months to reach that level.
Mhm.
But you're not talking about having to blast something out to tens of thousands of people.
Right.
Your book is a credibility builder. To be able to say to the HR director, here's your copy, by the way.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, when you're able to get that person who says, oh man, I have 4 of those toxic people under me. Well, let me work with them. That's an amazing point of entry. That will lead to the facilitation of programmatic stuff.
Mhm.
In a company of the larger companies, you get hired as a vendor to come in and do a thing. That's different than being the functioning development arm of a 200-person company that has an HR person who's going in a million different directions and needs help. So
Just a quick time check. We need to
sorry,
make sure we
I'll
keep
stop.
going.
You good?
Sorry. Add more comments in chat. I did throw 2 data points in chat, Margot, that I think are worth calling out because I do think business owners make decisions based on financial and numbers.
Mhm.
25% of US workers believe their managers are effective at handling incivility, so 75% are not effective. And incivility, based on its impact on morale, costs the US organizations around $2 billion per day, roughly $2 billion per day in absenteeism and diminished productivity. I had to
Wow.
reread that because I was like, wow, that's a lot. So next up, Brad.
Thank you.
I want to echo just some of the comments of previous people who've shared that really I think the book is the centerpiece to your strategy, Margot. And my question for you would be, have you thought about how this is both the product you are trying to market, but also the source that you can use for content marketing? You can put out articles like 5 biggest obstacles to civility in the workplace, and look at specific points like politics or or just, interpersonal skills, your demeanor, and how that affects people, and maybe that helps people self-identify. Has that been something you've considered or thought about how you could have a content marketing strategy around that?
I think that from what I understand and know and now have to do, that giving away your stuff is the best marketing you can do. And so since my stuff is my intellectual content, yes. So yesterday was the end of the beta. And today is when that starts, right? And I'm hot on LinkedIn. I think that's where my community is. And I think Blue Sky was an excellent idea. I've not taken advantage of that. There's too many platforms out there. I'm not going to be on all of them. But I think starting to give away that content in an exemplary way, this is what's in the book, but here's how it, right? That I think is an outstanding model.
I would totally agree that, you don't have to give everything away.
No.
But when you put something out there behind, say, some sort of a contact form or something like this, and you have a guide that, might even just touch on a chapter of your book, you have this resource that for people is tangible and makes them want more. So I think you're really following the right mindset to go into that.
Thank you, Brad.
All right, next up, John Norris, and then Melinda.
Hey, Margot, just a couple things real quick. I went on your website, and obviously I've heard you talk now for, call it whatever, 30 minutes. On your website, I don't know why you wouldn't put testimonials, or more importantly, a case study of where you went into, different organizations and the problem that was given to you and how you went about resolving it, so that if I go to your website, I can relate to that problem or something similar to that, or that opportunity. I sense that while it's obviously you have an incredible resume and experience in the book and all, it doesn't come through of how I can relate to using your services for my own benefit.
Yeah.
I'm big into what problem do you solve, and I don't get that feeling reading your website that I fix this, or I put gasoline on this, or I just don't see it.
Yeah. You've hit on the next activity in the slow Christmas season of revamping the website to no longer be attractive to subcontracting and I do it all, to absolutely narrowing it to this. So I appreciate that language and that focus that you're giving me to say this is the end product of what it should look like.
And then just one other thing, if you're going to target organizations, say 50 to 1,000 or whatever it is, there's got to be some industry or industries, as other people have indicated, where you kind of have a hunch, a friend, a neighbor, a cousin, someone in your family that could be like, yeah, this industry or this profile of business has historically fought with these issues. Just saying 50 to 1,000 is, that's pretty hard to quantify and message to those people.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely something that hits every industry, but yet you specialize, but everybody needs it. But how do you specialize? Right.
Oh, that's what just or pick a few.
Yeah.
Pick a few and target your messaging towards those and see how that works versus trying to throw it out. It's like when you fish, do you want bait on a hook or do you want a chum? Chum will bring in a fish, but a hook is what's going to catch it. So you can throw out all the chum you want, but you're not going to get really any conversions because they're not biting on your hook.
John Morse dropping the wisdom bombs this morning.
Excellent. Thank you.
So let's keep us moving forward. We have a little bit less than a minute or so to continue our Q&A. So Melinda, if you can keep it quick, that would be great.
It'll be real quick, a New York moment. I wrote down, what about military bases? They get a lot of contractors calling on them. What if you went to the head of the military base and said you'd like to put on an event for them with your book, and they invite a number of their contractors for you? Something like that. Going along with a book tour that you really should put together. looking at places that you really want to be visible, and maybe you invite people come to the tour and get something off the cost of your book, or buy one book, get another book for somebody else that you think needs it or something. And my last note to myself was there was a gal in Chicago, God, 20 years ago. She had a group called Networlding, and she was teaching people how to network, and she was doing the same kind of thing with workbook and everything else. I have all her tools. I'd love to share them with you.
Thank you so much, Melinda.
So I have two provocative thoughts, Margot, as Scott gets ready to take back over as MC. I think they're provocative. Maybe they're not, but I would look at a list of top places to work recipients. They are the willing, and you can let them know that your level of communication training is the next forward-thinking approach, especially coming out of an election. You're, maybe even just being specific about how do you navigate civility post-election and navigate difficult conversations. The second, I think doing a podcast with someone, launching a series around that, you could interview past clients. You could feature other speakers in the same genre where you're practicing the difficult conversations. Podcasts are still really relevant, and you can reuse that content on LinkedIn as well. So again, thank you all of our guests. Fantastic questions. Please make sure you're saving the chat. If you can't, I will put a link to it in a moment. Margot, is there anything else our group can help you with today?
It always is, but not enough time. You have been unbelievably generous in restarting or injecting an infusion of something in me to think differently. And that is what I needed. It's getting too stuck. I know too much about my own product and needed help turning now outward facing. Thank you very, very much.
All right, with that, Scott, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
All right, so next week's presenter is Sweetgrass Advisory Group. So if they're going to be presenting, it's going to be in the very same format where we have a presentation, we ask questions, give insights. So please join for that. And then if you're interested in this opportunity, please feel free to reach out if you want to become an organizer. It gives opportunity to be a part of this group in a meaningful way, to develop your leadership skills, collaboration, coaching, marketing skills, gains visibility for your business, and ultimately it's giving back to the community. So if you're interested in contributing to entrepreneurship in Northern Virginia, please let us know, reach out. We'd love to have you on board. And then just some upcoming events that are of interest. So there's a couple of events a number of holiday parties and events. So please put these on your calendar if any of them are of particular interest. I can at least say for myself, I will be at the Connectpreneur Holiday Networking and Pitch Extravaganza. Highly recommend it, run by Tien Wong. But there's a lot of other fantastic events on this list as well, including the Fairfax City Holiday Market in Old Town, as well as the George Mason University Business Center event as well. So
and
please feel free to check these out.
They've just been put in the chat with links, guys. So if you want to go and check them out from the chat, you can go do that.
And all the events, just to note, are in person. And then presenter schedule. If you're interested in presenting, we have availability in January. So start to look at your calendar, and if you are interested in getting feedback on a business problem, a business idea, a business that you might think about launching, or a business pivot, please feel free to reach out to one of the organizers. We'd be happy to hop on a call and schedule you for a presentation. And then, of course, we need your help. We need your help to get out the word. So feel free to use LinkedIn, as John talked about. Feel free to use X. Feel free to use Facebook, or even Blue Sky, right? There's a variety of different platforms that you can start to get out the word on what we do with 1MillionCups. So please feel free to share on social media. One of the other things that we're doing a lot more of as well are recording testimonials. So when you see those from a presentation that you were really excited about, share it. And then feel free to stick around for a while and just network with others. And we'd love to learn more about your business challenges, and how we can continue to